out over the voices of other people who weren't listening. They were working at the paper mill in France, and they realized that bits of paper would float right up the chimney and go out the top. And they realized that there was weight in that paper, and some force was able to lift it. One of the brothers was an inventor, and he was actually trying to build and design a gas balloon. Gas balloons are being developed at the same time as hot air, but they were first. He looked at the chimney, got this idea that maybe we shouldn't use gas, maybe we should use whatever that is in there, and they thought smoke had something to do with it. So they built a contraption with fabric, paper, mesh, stuck it over the chimney, filled it up, and they lifted the weight of that thing they made, and it carried that thing up, 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 and then it leveled off, and then it fell out of the sky. So that proved there was lift, and it could lift enough weight that made them go further to the king and ask for some funding. The king agreed to pay for everything. Here's your water bottle. And the king said, though, I don't want to send humans up on the very first one, because what if, A, it doesn't work, but what if we do get up there and it works, but we can't breathe? No one had ever been up except for mountain climbers, and when they climb mountains, sorry, spoiler, mountain climbers climb mountains. You didn't get that far. So the higher they go, the more labored they're breathing. And they realized if we get above this oxygen level that they might be experiencing, we could fly, but then we could die, and that would be bad. B-A-D, bad. That's French for bad. So the king said, let's not send people. Their only alternative idea was, let's send up some volunteers, a rooster, a duck, and a sheep. They were just backpacking across Europe on their way to college soon. And so they captured them in a cage, put them on a platform, kind of like this table. It wasn't really a basket. It was just like a raft, like a big platform. And they did what was called a flap inflation, where you take fabric and you flap. And like a bed sheet, see these little waves of air? They built a fire in the ground, and they flapped in front of the fire to draw the heat into the balloon and lift it up. And it worked. Took forever, but it worked. And the balloon was upright. They put the animals in the cage on the little platform, cut the ropes, and it did exactly like the little contraption they built. It carried their weight of those animals easily up into the heavens. When it landed, they ran to the aircraft, and they were thinking, which animals are alive, which animals are not alive. The whole idea in selecting the animals was actually lung capacities. A rooster, a duck, and a sheep, 3 different lungs. They could sense in the smaller animals breathing, and then the sheep was more like a human with larger lungs. If the sheep's alive, we should be able to do this. So because that sheep could hold his breath. That was the first time that one shot out of here, the little hole. I was like, that's interesting, because what if the sheep was like, but no, the sheep was alive when they got there. He was kicking and screaming, actually rolled over, broke the duck's leg. So the proof of this was we can lift weight, we can breathe while we're up there, and sheep are aggressive when they're off the planet. 3 things they learned. So the little duck went on to start an insurance company called Aflac. And heard about it. He was there. He was right there. He's like, old granddaddy Aflac. So, no, that's not true. So, his great-grandson did. So the whole point was we can breathe. They went to the king and they said, let's build a bigger one. Now we want to be the first in flight with humans on board. We want to take 2 humans up to prove that we can lift weight. King agreed, thought this was great, and they built this giant balloon. They originally planned to launch in July when it's really warm, so they calculated their calculations for that kind of a lift, but it got delayed to November. November 21st, 1783 was the first time that man ever lifted off into the heavens on one of these contraptions, and they were actually 10 days in front of the balloon, gas balloon. So they beat them by 10 days. December 1st was the first time gas balloon lifted off, so they beat them by just a hair, but there was no hairs involved, just so you know. The bunnies and things like that we saw on the ground, no hairs. That was a desert joke. It was dry. It was dry humor.
Very dry.
First time that one came out, and the last one right there. That one's gone. So the inflation was going on forever, as usual, but the problem was nobody wanted to volunteer. Everybody didn't want to go. So the guys who invented it were like, no, we must stay on the ground and do scientific research and study and evaluate, and we're not going. So the king said, I got a whole prison filled with people condemned to death. We should just throw them on. If they live, they live. If they die, they die. Who cares? And so they had 2 guys shackled down in front of the fire pit here. And if you need refills, Fozzie will be around with refills any second now. That's cute. So the inflation happened with these guys shackled down to a pole. While they were inflating, this was in Paris, 1783. The conversation shifted. Maybe we should not send common criminals up into the heavens like we thought. because they'll get all the accolades should they survive. Instead, we should maybe send someone else. Plus, if these people do not die, they'll survive and escape. And the king didn't want that. So the king put them back down to prison, and 2 noblemen in this crowd of over 100,000, they estimate 100,000 people were here, they stepped out of the crowd and said, let's do it. This sounds good. One was a scientist, Pilastre de Rosier and the Marquis de Laune were their names. The other one was a historian. And they thought, this would be great, I'll write the story. And the other one said, this looks good, let's do it. Climbed up on the contraption, cut the ropes, very different experience. The first one lifted off gently. The second one was filled with cold air, heated. And so there was a lot more molecule action going on. People in my balloon know what that means. So this thing shot off like a rocket. Totally different than the first one. It's like shooting an arrow from a bow. It just went straight up, hit the upper winds, vanished like we were going 20 today, and then came down somewhere else. Came down really hard, hit the ground in some fields where some people were working in their neighborhoods, in their fields, and they saw nothing but a giant demon, monster, dragon thing falling out of the sky, billowing smoke like a dragon. And they got scared, and when it hit the ground, the guys were ejected immediately, thrown clear of the basket. And when they hit the ground, the balloon took back off. So when you lose weight, you gain lift. That's why we told you to stay in the basket, hold on. And it looked like a big dragon monster bird pecking the earth, eating their neighbors. So they chased it down with pitchforks and shovels and killed the beast. Literally just shredded the thing to pieces. This was scary to the guys who were limping around. They fell out of the sky with no idea about slowing down. Remember, we used fire to slow the balloon? They didn't have fire. They left the fire on the ground, and they just went up. It's kind of like throwing a ball and then wondering why it bounces. So when they hit the ground, they were pretty surprised at the impact that had on their ideas for ballast in the future. So ever since that first flight, they took bags of water, things to throw off, dirt, small children, something renewable, like children are renewable. Okay, we'll let that one go. So the success of that was so good that they went to the King of France and they were reporting on the success, but they also said the failure was the people's reaction. We don't know what to do about those people that are trying to kill us. And so the king suggested, got a lot of empty glasses, 40 of them. The king suggested, why don't we take some wine from my cellars, has the king's label, and then when we land, we can make it a party instead of a witch hunt that way. And so that worked. From that day forward, these bags of smoke that were floating around in the sky, which started to happen frequently, would become known as a party mobile. So if you follow it, it's no longer a monster because it has alcohol, because monsters and demons don't drink wine apparently. So whenever this thing would come down, people would chase the balloon and they would get to it and they'd make it a celebration like we do today. So today we're going to tell you a little prayer that's on your glass. This prayer was given to us about 100 years after the first flight. An Irish priest saw some balloons flying in the valley and thought that we were so beautiful that we needed to, we were younger, we didn't look like this back then.
You are sweet 16?
Thank you, yes. I was. Thank you, ma'am. So they thought that we deserved a prayer or a toast because of how beautiful we were. We think that the Irish found out we drink every day. Thought we needed a toast.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that was, you'd have to get married to somebody you didn't like. So I'm glad you dropped that one. So the prayer used to be said before liftoff. Originally, when they wrote the prayer, it was scaring people though. We got down on our knees. We used to start every morning. Please God, don't let what happened yesterday. Those people were so nice from Florida. God love them. No, that's not it. Now the prayer today is said after, and everywhere you fly in the world, you're going to hear a version of this prayer. It's not always the same. Some words are slightly tweaked as I extend this conversation, that I'm making up stuff to say so that he can get those 2 glasses that gentleman in purple jacket's holding filled before we get to the toast. That's why they didn't get the thing. But the prayer does get said to you no matter where you fly. And today the prayer goes, purple shirt, like this. The winds have welcomed you with softness. And the sun has blessed you with its warm hands. You've flown so high and so well that God has joined you in your laughter and gently sets you back into the loving arms of Mother Earth. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to all of you. Thank you for being brave and getting up early and getting all your parents up early. That was really nice, kids. Way to go. Thank you guys for getting in a van with strangers. That's the scariest part of the day, usually. Not always. But thank you all for coming out and playing. We wouldn't be able to fly without your body weight, so thanks for that $7.99 dessert you had last night. That was really double chocolate fudge with bacon. That was really good. So thank you. Any birthdays you'd like to salute? Birthdays? Happy birthday, man. 29 years old. Jack's birthday. Happy birthday, Jack. Jack was quiet as a mouse the whole flight.
your birthday?
Any anniversaries? No? Oh, reluctantly. Happy anniversary.
That tells you how happy they are.
30. Together? Like in a row?
Same person? Yes, consecutively, yes. Sequentially.
How old fashioned. Oh, wow, you don't look a day past 38, ma'am. That's funny. So happy anniversary to you guys. Anybody have a birthday this year? Yeah. There you go. Nice. Happy birthday to all of you. Where are you from? You guys are cold? Wow. I lived in New York. I'm not that cold. Well, thank you all again for coming out. Make sure you keep your glasses, and if you need a refill, we do have more to give you. It's about this much. So, suck it down. No, we have another bottle, right?
You do.
We're going to do our billing here in just a minute.
Sure.
We're going to bill you for the ride, after the ride. Survivors basically pay. Pretty simple. If you don't come back, it's free.
And the
No
more you
paper
drink,
trail.
the less painful the billing is. So
Correct.
It's all good.
This is Fozzie's van right here. If you flew with the scary bearded guy. That's where I'm going with this. If you flew with the other scary bearded guy.